What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to this episode of the Double S NFL podcast with Sam and Spencer. Today, we're going to do our power rankings 32 through 1 after week 10, and we're also going to discuss our thoughts on the games from this past week. And we're going to start with this Thursday night game. We have the Miami Dolphins hosting the Baltimore Ravens. And Sam, what are your thoughts from that game?
I need to know what happened to the Ravens offense because they just completely disappeared, and I have no idea what happened to them.
Their offensive line,
They
they
completely
were
shit the bed.
abysmal, and the play calling too. Greg Roman has to go.
I feel like Greg Roman should have been gone last year.
Yeah, when Lamar was regressing in the middle of the year last year, he should have been gone by the end of the year. Like when they lost to Buffalo in the playoffs, like a lot of that game was on Greg Roman.
Yeah, and the Miami played an excellent game defensively. I'm going to give them credit where credit's due. And Tua did not look half bad.
I thought Tua looked solid. He obviously looked rusty in the beginning, coming back from his injury, but he had a couple throws deep down the field. He played with confidence, poise, and I thought he looked pretty damn good out there in the second half. I have a question. Do you think that Baltimore could be in trouble down the stretch if if Greg Roman keeps play calling like he did on Thursday night?
Possibly. That
Yeah,
definitely depends on their upcoming schedule. And that might become an issue for them when they play stronger teams like a Pittsburgh. Like
Pittsburgh, or if they play
they play
Buffalo or the
Cleveland twice.
Rams.
They play Green Bay.
They've yet to play Pittsburgh too. Even their defense can be challenging for them.
So this week they come up against Chicago. I feel like that they win that game.
Yeah, I think they win that game.
Besides that,
it's pretty
Browns,
50-50
Steelers, Browns again, then Packers.
I have them finishing
Packers,
10-7.
Bengals, then the Rams, and then the Steelers again. That is a brutal schedule.
I can see them finishing with only 10 or even 9 wins if they keep playing like they did.
I'm sure they'll get it together. I'm sure because they got it together last year, even though last year it was easier opponents.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and share my thoughts on the Dolphins' performance. I thought Javon Holland, the rookie out of Oregon, he had a phenomenal game. If you know Wee Hooping on TikTok, the I called it dude. You've probably heard of him by now.
I hate that kid on so many levels.
What say about him?
I hate that kid so much.
He's unbelievable. He's like,
it's not even that he plays. I feel like anyone who plays a persona should belong to a mental hospital. Just be yourself.
I know, that kid was in his attic screaming, and I think it was like 2:15, 2:30 a.m. I was on his live a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that kid is insane.
Yeah, and Javon Holland, he duetted a video when Wee Hooping was bashing the Dolphins. It was the funniest thing.
Oh, I saw that. He had karma coming for him, especially after the way he reacted.
I think he blamed
the refs or something.
He's like, Ravens, what happened? His voice cracked.
Does he start for them or is he a backup?
Holland, he's a starter now, I think, alongside Rashad Jones.
Good for him.
Yeah, if he keeps playing like this, I wouldn't be shocked to see his name in the defensive rookie of the year conversation. All right. The next game we're going to talk about is the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. And I'll start with my takeaways. The Mike White era has come to a halt. It was fun while it lasted, but it's over now. And that's the unfortunate truth. He threw 4 picks, and it should have honestly been 6 or 7. he was inaccurate all day long, and he doesn't offer a lot of upside to this offense. As much as I hate to say it, he's a backup, and he's going to be a backup in this league. He's not the next Tom Brady. This is not another Bledsoe and Brady situation, but I think overall the Jets defense is the main story here. my flag football defense could play better than the Jets defense. They're missing tackles left and right, blown coverage every single play, and what is Jeff Earlbridge, the defensive coordinator, thinking? He's just sitting there eating French fries. It looks like on the sideline, and he has no game plan. It's
I think that's
unbelievable.
the poor defense is more Robert Saleh than it is on the defensive.
It is solid, but like Saleh, he's not really play calling. Like they put like Javelin Guidry, their slot corner, on Stephon Diggs, which I do not get at all.
There were a couple moments in that game where Stephon Diggs was left wide the fuck open.
Yeah, he was so fucking open that like there was one play he was just there and he went 63 yards and he was down at the 5. Like yeah, I was laughing so hard. For the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, he looked phenomenal outside of a fourth quarter pick, which didn't even matter. He was nearly flawless, over like 11 yards per attempt, I believe, 21 of 28, 360 yards, 2 touchdowns. Diggs finally had that breakout game we were waiting for, and if the Bills keep this up, I think they can put that Jacksonville game in their rearview mirror as a fluke loss, and they're still a Super Bowl team, Buffalo, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Next 1:00 game we're going to go over is the Buccaneers and the Washington football team. Spencer, what do you have to say on the Buccaneers' performance defensively?
Defensively, they look bad in the secondary. Like, sure they have injuries there, but it does not look good right now at all. Like Terry McLaurin had a big day. Even I think I'm gonna look up the stats, but it was like Devondre Carter or Ricky Seals-Jones. They both had solid days on Sunday. Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones, like, he had 3 catches for 30 yards. Like, I don't consider that great, but like, if you let him get a few catches, like, what are you doing? He's Ricky Seals-Jones. Like, I don't know what to say. That, but if this keeps happening with the Bucs, they could be in some trouble come playoff time, because if you play the Cowboys receivers, they're going to beat you. If you play Devontae Adams, they're going to beat you. If you play the Rams receiving core, they're going to beat you. Even the Cardinals, they're going to beat you too. Like, even like Carolina, they could beat you too. Like, this Bucs team can be in serious trouble come playoff time. Tom Brady on the offensive side of the ball, he threw a couple of picks, but I don't think he was that bad. The run game wasn't great by any means, but I think they'll get itself together. The offense I don't really have concerns about, but the defense and Bruce Arians too. I haven't been a fan of him as of late. Too, he has to get his act together. The defense for Washington, they looked like their 2020 selves again. They've looked great the last few weeks. Chase Young out for the year. That's a brutal blow. But I think even with Montez Sweat out too, I think Jonathan Allen and the interior of that defensive line can make up for the production a bit, especially stopping the run. And I think the defense will start to get back on track as the year goes on. And they'll have Chase Young back next season. And by the way, Taylor Heinicke, he owns the Buccaneers. They didn't beat them last year in the playoffs. He comes out this year, he puts on a clinic.
He played a great game. On to the next 1:00 game. We're going to do the Jaguars and Colts. I think that the Colts struggled through this game.
Other than the first quarter, the Colts looked very vulnerable at times. Like, they were up 17-0 at one point and almost blew the lead.
They did, and I don't know how many of these games you can have before you play down to your competition like that, especially since the schedule gets tougher with Buffalo and Tampa Bay.
Exactly. Yeah, like they have Buffalo on their schedule. They have Tampa Bay on their schedule.
New England, Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, they've even a team like Jacksonville in Week 18, they could possibly upset them at their home. What are your takeaways on Carson Wentz right now?
He did not play bad to me. He was okay.
He was fine. I think he was one of his worst games of the year. He only averaged 5.3 yards per attempt. He was pretty inefficient throwing the ball deep this game, but he kept it short, and they ran the offense through Jonathan Taylor, which I thought was a good idea.
I feel like they should do that every week, no matter what.
Every single game. It's the formula for the offense to succeed.
Absolutely. And what are your thoughts on the Jaguars?
They're competing. I got to give Urban Meyer some credit where it's due. Trevor Lawrence, he's had his ups and downs for sure, but the flashes are there. The potential is absolutely there. The defense looks promising in key moments too. I love James Robinson. I love Laviska Shenault. And the Jags O-line hasn't been terrible either. So I like where this team is headed. If Urban Meyer can get his act together, I can see them winning a few more games this year, honestly. The next game we're going to discuss here that was on the 1 o'clock hour is the Lions and the Steelers in a tie. And what were your thoughts on that game?
The Lions competed hard, and I think that Jared Goff is the worst quarterback in the league. You cannot tell me otherwise.
Yeah, now that Sam Darnold is benched, Goff is easily the worst QB.
He didn't get benched; he got injured.
Yeah, and I'd go as far to say Goff isn't even a top 5 backup if he was a backup.
I understand they pay him a ton, but I don't know. And the Steelers, how do you tie against the Lions, especially with the way Jared Goff played?
How? The Lions are so damn talentless, and you really tie to them at Heinz Field. Like Mason Rudolph, he isn't much of a downgrade for Big Ben, if an upgrade by any means. And they still have Najee Harris. The defense was great, but Mike Tomlin, as I was saying last week on the podcast, he plays down to competition at least once a year. The Washington game last year, the Raiders game in 2018, the Jets game in 2019, the Jags game in 2017, even though they were a good team then. It's once a year at least that Mike Tomlin. It really baffles me how he comes unprepared for some of these like easy games.
I understand they were without Big Ben, but
I don't think Rudolph is much of a downgrade, to be honest.
I agree.
He offers that offense a lot more upside.
He shows flashes of potential that
Big Ben can't show at this age.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about the Steelers.
They're in a pickle right now, the Steelers. They're going to end up 8-1, in my opinion. They're the definition of mediocre. Anemic offense, phenomenal defense.
I personally say 7-9-1, but
I could see either, but I don't see them finishing below 500.
All right. Next 1 o'clock game we're going to go over is the massacre in Dallas.
Well. What do we know?
Falcons.
After getting slapped in the ass last week against the Denver Broncos, the Cowboys came out angry. They came out furious, and they came out ready to beat the Falcons' ass. It wasn't even a close game from the start. It was 36-3 at half. Dak Prescott played his best game in a while. He was phenomenal. He's the MVP frontrunner right now, in my opinion. Zeke had another solid game. CeeDee Lamb, he's emerging into a top 10 receiver, in the blink of an eye. And the Cowboys O-line and the Cowboys defense were phenomenal too. I couldn't find a weak spot during this game for Dallas. Meanwhile, for Atlanta, it was the complete opposite. Matt Ryan, he was benched for the chosen Rosen. Actually, Matt Ryan used 9 for 21 with 2 picks. He was missing throws left and right. The O-line didn't do him any favors either. And having Calvin Ridley out does not help him at all. But the defense for the Falcons, aside from AJ Terrell, they're just awful. They're an awful unit. Second worst in the NFL, in my opinion, behind the Jets. And the coaching isn't great either there. I haven't loved what Arthur Smith has done so far. Speaking of Atlanta, we got to see 10th overall pick in 2018, Josh Rosen play, and he shut the bed. I'm not surprised. He went 1 for 6 with the pick, and his QBR was 0.1. 0.1.
0.1?
Yes.
Jesus, he was bad. Matt Ryan's wasn't much better.
Yeah, but Josh Rosen, he deserves to be on a practice squad right now.
He had a quarterback rating of 0.
He completed 1 pass, and 5 of them were he completed 6 passes.
It was so bad that Cooper Rush got to go in.
Yeah, the Falcons are a mess. Like, don't be fooled by their 4 wins. They played the Jets, the Giants.
It was the Jets, the Giants. They beat the Saints, surprisingly.
Yeah, I was surprised they beat the Saints. Like, I actually thought they played a really good game that week. And one other win I'm forgetting of.
It was the Dolphins.
Miami. 3 out of 4 of those teams are really bad.
Yeah. The Falcons might sneak into the 7th seed because of how bad.
I think they'll go like 5-12, or I wouldn't be shocked if they actually lose out.
I'm gonna have a bold take tomorrow in the game picks, but which you'll find out when you get there. But on to the next 1:00 game is the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots.
Well. Yet again, Baker Mayfield shits the bed against a good defense. What's new? Baker Mayfield, he's been awful recently. Awful. He's not a good quarterback right now. I don't care if the play calling's not great. I don't care if he doesn't have a receiver one at the moment. He's making decisions that rookies make, and he's in year 4 right now. And I think the Browns, they're in a dilemma with him and his contract this offseason. Do they pay him? Do they not pay him? Because he's going to want big money. The front office might not want to give him big money, and for a good reason. It's going to be a whole thing. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if week 1 next year, Baker Mayfield is not on the Browns roster. Speaking of Pittsburgh, speaking of New England, I was getting confused from a few weeks ago. New England, they're back. They're back, honestly. Mac Jones, he looks amazing for a rookie. He looks calm, efficient, effective. He's running that offense very, very, very well. Ramondre Stevenson out of Oklahoma, he had a huge game in the absence of Damian Harris, and the receiver stepped up too, as well as the defense. I like where this Patriots team is headed. I think they're almost a lock to be the 5 seed in the AFC, and they could make noise in the playoffs if they do indeed get there. The next game we're going to talk about here. What are your takeaways from this game?
The Browns looked absolutely horrible, and they made New England look like a Super Bowl contender. I don't think they're at that point yet, but
they're getting there.
In the coming weeks, if they continue to play this well, we may see Belichick and Mac Jones in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
On to our last 1:00 game of the week is the New Orleans Saints and the Tennessee Titans. Spencer, what do you got to say about that?
I'm impressed by Sean Payton right now. He's out his quarterback, starting QB, starting running back, starting wide receiver 1, and key pieces on defense too. And he manages to come within 2 points of the best team in the AFC. That's really damn impressive. Like, I don't think they'll make the playoffs or anything, but I wouldn't be shocked if Sean Payton and that defense gets them there alone because that D looked extremely promising on Sunday. And offense, it looks fine with Trevor Siemian. I'm going to be honest with you. He played a turnover-free game. He didn't throw any picks, or I don't believe he had a fumble either. And he hasn't been too bad at all so far. For the Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel, put some respect on that man's name right now. Without Derrick Henry and with Ryan Tannehill playing meh, they're 8-2 right now, and that defense, it looks insane right now. In large part to Jeffrey Simmons and Kevin Byard, that defense looks unstoppable right now, and the defensive coordinator too, Shane Bowen. A lot of credit has to go to him. He's done a great job with that unit, developing it too. And I really like where this Titans team is headed. Even in only a close win, it's still a win.
Still win against a very good
Nonetheless.
team in the NFC.
What?
It's still a win against a team who I think will be the 6th seed in the NFC.
Yeah. It's still very impressive what that team is doing right now. All right. The first 4 o'clock game we're going to cover is the Panthers and the Cardinals. And what are your takeaways on Colt McCoy and the Cardinals?
The Cardinals looked absolutely terrible, and they need Kyler back, and they need him now. And I feel like the Cardinals, they need that extra oomph, and they did not get that from Colt McCoy. I feel like he only plays well against NFC West teams.
Yeah, against the Niners. He played well against Seattle last year with the Giants. Like, it's something with him in the NFC West. Like, he has something with them, it feels like.
Absolutely. And the Cardinals defense played no better than their offense. I feel like they will get it together though.
Yeah, like with the backup quarterback and Hopkins not starting either, like it was due for they were due for a huge loss like this, and it's kind of a wake up call to them that Cliff Kingsbury has to be ready. He can't come unprepared by any means for any game, and I think the Cardinals are a great team still all around. But I think as I said, it's a wake up call for them to get things going. Carolina, man, Cam Newton is the spark they needed, indeed. PJ Walker, he started the game. He wasn't great by any means, but he got the job done other than that one pick. McCaffrey, he's a beast. He's back, and he's back in action. He's a top 3 running back still on the ground. And
they're my favorite for the 7th seed.
Yeah, I think they'll be either the 6th or the 7th seed. And the D, they're Phil Snow, the defensive coordinator. He's one of the best assistant coaches this year, and he deserves a ton of credit. Shaq Thompson looking like an all-pro out there, and the cornerbacks, Dante Jackson, when healthy, Gilmore's a beast, Jeremy Chin, Brian Burns. They just look insane overall on defense, and if this carries up to the playoffs, I could see them winning a playoff game if they get there, believe it or not.
On to the next 4 o'clock game, being the Vikings and the Los Angeles Chargers from SoFi Stadium. And it ended with the Vikings getting the win. Spencer, what are your thoughts on the Vikings' performance?
If the Vikings can have coaching not affect them a lot, they're a very good team, and they're also a possible 6th or 7th seed in the NFC. Kirk looked efficient. I'm still not the biggest fan of him. He doesn't really offer that big playability, and he's as many people know, he's a terrible primetime quarterback. But the offense looks pretty good right now, and the D is stepping up in key moments when they need it. Eric Kendricks, by the way, I truly believe he's the best linebacker in the NFL when fully healthy.
Absolutely.
He had a pick, and it was like through his hands. It looked like he was going through his hands, and he came over and he snagged it. It was quite the play.
Yeah, and the Chargers offense, they did not look.
Justin Herbert, he has not looked great the last few weeks, and like I blame some of that on Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator there, but Herbert, he's airing it out and he's inaccurate at times. Like I'm not saying he's going to regress as the season goes on. Like I still think he's a great quarterback, but like he's been disappointing since that Baltimore game.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely. And on to the 425 game.
425 games, and the first 425 game we'll go over is the Denver Broncos and the Philadelphia Eagles. What were your takeaways on Teddy Bridgewater in this one? And the Broncos.
He didn't play that terrible in my opinion,
Yeah,
but
like a lot of Broncos fans are bashing him, but I thought he looked fine.
the defense was the problem. They
Yeah,
looked like shit against the Eagles,
especially the
and they
secondary
made the
there.
Eagles look like playoff
Supposed to be great.
contenders. Yeah, and the Eagles, they look like they can take the 7th seed and maybe do something in the postseason.
Yeah,
Their schedule gets pretty easy from this point forward.
They have a bunch of NFC East games, 2 against the Giants, 2 against Washington. I could see them going 3-1 in those games.
And then they have one more against Dallas, which I feel like they win.
I could see them winning that if like Dallas clinched already, but like Dallas has their number in it.
Right, and Jalen Hurts looked really good. So did the receiving core and the whole offense looked good. And the people thought this Denver defense was good.
And it has really disappointed me, to say the least, so far.
Yes. And on to the Seahawks and Packers. What a boring game that was.
Yeah. 2 quarterbacks coming back from games they missed. In Russell Wilson's case, extended period of time he missed, and he was atrocious. And this Seattle team is bad. They're bad. Like I'd put them in the bottom 5 teams in the NFL right now, as I said in my power rankings. They had a solid game, but they don't look too great either. Pete Carroll is not a good coach at this point. The run game without Carson is pretty bad. The receiving core is solid, but it's not enough, and the O-line stinks. Speaking of Green Bay, Rodgers, he looked shaky at times, but his first game back from COVID, I think he'll get his act together. A.J. Dillon is an absolute beast. Even though Aaron Jones is hurt for a few weeks, I think Dillon can take up his load really, really, really well. I loved him coming out of college in 2020, and I feel like he can really show who he actually is and why the Packers should have let Aaron Jones walk in and stuck with Dillon, because I think Dillon's going to have a huge game next week against the Vikings. Packers they look phenomenal right now. Kevin King, he was a meme after the NFC Championship game, but he got a pick and he looks really good right now overall. And I'm really satisfied with the job Matt LaFleur has done with this team right now, and I'm excited to see where they go from here.
Absolutely. As both teams looked like shit, if I'm being honest. I think the game had more to do with the Seahawks offense being shit than the Packers defense being good.
Yeah, but Packers defense, we still can't discredit them at all. They were unbelievable.
On to the Sunday night game, the Chiefs and Raiders.
Well, after he disappeared and went to Chuck E. Cheese for a couple weeks, Patrick Mahomes is back and better than ever again, I believe. 35 of 50, 5 touchdowns, and he looked really sharp out there Sunday night. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, that receiving core, they look really good against the Raiders, and Darrell Williams stepping in for the injured Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had a very solid game, receiving wise too. O-line held up, and the D was great too. The Raiders, don't be fooled by their record; they stink. Both of their 2020 first-round picks, they're not on the team anymore, so they're bust. They're both the bust unless Arnett revives his career elsewhere. That's not happening with Ruggs. This team is falling off a cliff, and I don't think it'll get better this year. I think they finish around 7-10 or 8-9. What are your thoughts on this game?
The Chiefs played their best game of the year. And I feel like if they can build off this, they can make it back to the Super Bowl. The Raiders just look terrible, and they look like the frauds they were last year, just with the more criminal activity.
More crime on the team. That was on the team. All right. The Monday night game, Rams and the Niners. I was not awake to watch this game. I fell asleep actually, but I watched the highlights, and all I can say is,
What
wow.
happened to the Rams offense? That's just something I genuinely want to know.
It has not
What
been
happened?
clicking the last 2 weeks.
Did Jared Goff kidnap Matt Stafford?
I guess because Stafford is throwing picks and missing throws that Goff would. Like it's Stafford has been Goff the last 2 weeks. He's who Goff was.
Yes, and I feel like they'll get better, but that was just rough. That was really rough.
I'm not concerned with them right now, but if it continues, I will be concerned.
Absolutely. And that'll do it for our game recaps and on to our top. We're going to do our top 10 this week.
And I'll start with my top 10. Kicking off the top 10, fresh off of a disappointing loss on Thursday night, I have Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Only going to say a few words here, but they look pathetic. Greg Roman, he needs to go. The play calling is not working. The scheme, something's up. They're very inconsistent offensively and defensively, and their schedule is brutal too. So if they don't get their act together, they could be a wild card team and not win that division in the end.
My number 10 is the Kansas City Chiefs. They looked a lot better. As you know, the last time we did these power rankings, I had them in the lower half of the
I did too.
power rankings, and they looked better, especially since Jackson Mahomes wasn't on the sideline.
Yeah, I saw on his TikTok, Jackson Mahomes was at a restaurant and he was dancing there, but that's the right place to dance, Jackson. If the team wants to win, then dance there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the main reason they blew him out, not just because they're good.
Exactly.
What's your number 9?
My number 9 team is Kansas City. For the same reasons you said, except I think Andy Reid deserves a lot more credit than he's getting for that win. Got the team together after a rough stretch, and I think they're back on track now.
Absolutely. My
Who's your
number
number
9 is
9?
the New England Patriots. They look really good, and they're 6-4. They have some easy games coming up, and if they can run the table, they're going to be scary for January.
Completely agree. My number 8 team right now is Tampa Bay. Offense, I have no concerns about. Brady's going to be just fine. He's Tom Brady. But the defense, the secondary in particular, I have major question marks. Injuries are a factor still, but they looked undisciplined. They looked unprepared every game, and they let Taylor Heinicke have a big game against them. Like, come on, man. He hasn't had a good year at all, and you let him go off, complete over 80% of his passes against you. Like, you cannot let that happen.
Absolutely. And my number 8 is the Ravens for the same reasons that you gave. So I don't feel like I need to explain that much. What's your number 8?
I think I'm at my number 7 actually.
Your number
My
7.
number 7 for the same reasons you had is Bill Belichick's squad up in New England, the Patriots. They're firing on all cylinders right now, and I think they're only going to get better as we go on. But I do have a bold pick in my game picks. I think there could be a hiccup this week. But we'll get to that tomorrow.
My number 7 is the Buffalo Bills. They looked a lot better this week than they did last week. And I feel like that'll build towards being a Super Bowl contender. They're my favorite in the AFC right now.
My number 6 team, for the same reasons you had, is Buffalo. Josh Allen, he's back on track. The D is the best in the league right now. No debate. Secondary is, it looks like the no-fly zone, and coaching is great as well. Who's your 6?
My number 6 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They look bad, and I'm sure they'll get it together, but right now they look bad, and number 6 is the highest I can put them.
Kicking off my top 5, I have the Cardinals. Listen, they had a really bad game, but I'm not concerned at all. Colt McCoy was their starter. AJ Green was their wide receiver 1, I believe. They're going to be just fine in the long run, in my opinion.
My number 5 is the Los Angeles Rams. They looked terrible, but I'm not too concerned about that. The Rams are like the NFL's version of the Nets. They're gonna have their bad games, and I think they'll get it together.
Eventually, for sure. My number 4 is the Rams for the same exact reasons you had. Just as simple as just Kyle Shanahan owns McVay. They've beat them the last 6 times they faced off, and I think they'll be just fine as time goes on.
My number 4 is the Dallas Cowboys. They played a great game. If the NFC was just a little weaker, they'd be my favorite in the NFC, but unfortunately, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
They look really good, and they're gonna make some noise in January and early February, and I feel like they'll reach the NFC Championship game.
I can see that for sure. My number 3 is Dallas for the same reasons. Dak is back. He looked great. Zeke looked great. D looked great. I've been really impressed with them all year long, and Sunday did not disappoint.
My number 3 is the Arizona Cardinals for the same reasons that you gave. I'm not concerned. I firmly believe that they'll be back and ready to fuck shit up the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think he'll be just fine. My number 2 team, Dose, is the Tennessee Titans. They look really damn good right now. Mike Vrabel deserves serious consideration for Coach of the Year. Tannehill, he's bouncing back in the last few weeks. He looks more calm and efficient, and the D looks absolutely insane right now.
I'd have to agree with you on that. They're the top team in the AFC right now. And yeah. On to number 1, and you and I both have the Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay Packers for probably similar reasons. Even with Jair Alexander out, David Bakhtiari out, and Zadarius Smith out, they're still managing to win games, and credit coaching for a lot of that, by the way. They look phenomenal.
All right, that'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on with us, and hope you enjoy your Wednesday, whatever day you're watching this.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day, guys.